Okay, here's our extra example 1B. This example I'm going to do, but it's going to be a very abbreviated example because you have a thorough example on the other video of how to graph from vertex form. So I'm starting this one out just like I did the other one. You're going to graph f of x equals 0.5 or 5/10 or half of x plus 4 squared minus 2. You're going to label the vertex as well as the axis of symmetry. So the most important things here are our vertex and our axis of symmetry and our given equation. Okay, so the vertex form is given for you here. You should be able to identify A, H, and K. All right, I'm going to pause it to identify A, H, and K so we'll know what the vertex is from H and K alone. And A is 5/10, H is -4, and K is a -2. Okay, then that lets me know that my vertex is at a -4 and a -2. So that's going to be 4 to the left of the origin and down 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down 2. I have a point at -4, -2. Okay, so that's the first point there. Now, you may ask, okay, you put this point underneath it. Well, this graph has a positive A value. That means this graph is going to open upward. Okay, so this will be, once again, my vertex. But in this case, my vertex has a minimum value, and our minimum is going to be, I don't mind writing that out, the minimum value is the lowest point that the y value goes to. So this graph will go as low as a -2. Okay, now coincidentally, once you know what the vertex is, if you watch the other video, you also know what the axis of symmetry is as well. So the axis of symmetry is what? X equals -4. So once you know your vertex, you know a lot of information. You know how low the graph goes, your minimum. You know your axis of symmetry. And that's about it. Okay, so now we need to figure out what is happening on the left and the right side of the graph. Okay, you can choose whatever points you want. However, I'll be back with mine in just a second. Okay, so here we go. I chose -6 and a -8 because my graph has a vertex at -4 and -2. I just figure I might as well go with some even numbers, okay? So here we go. The first thing that I'm going to do is evaluate the function f of a -6, okay? So that's the first thing that I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to show you step by step how I did it, and then I'm going to ask that you do -8 by yourself, okay? So the first thing that I'm going to do, f of -6 equals 0.5 times -6 plus 4 squared minus 2. So the first thing that I did was substitute it in. Okay, now that I've substituted it in, the next step that I'm going to take is to add what's in the parentheses. So I'll do parentheses next. Got it bunched up. Okay, I'm going to move it over. So 0.5 times -6 plus 4 is a -2. We're going to square that and still subtract 2 because that was in the original equation. All right, I pointed up there like you can see it. There's actually the original equation again right here. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do, please excuse, in this case we have an exponent. We have an exponent of 2. It's being squared. So we're going to multiply using that exponent, okay? So 0.5, we'll multiply -2 times -2, which is going to be a +4, and we'll subtract 2. the next step, multiply. I am going to multiply half of 4, or 0.5 of 4. All right, now this is going to be 2 minus 2. Woo-wee. I'm subtracting. Oh man, I didn't switch my color. 0. So I have an interesting point here. At -6 and a +0, I have a point. Well, -6 and +0 happens to be the x-intercept. Okay, so sometimes you'll get lucky and you'll get an intercept there. Okay, so in this case, the x-intercept is at -6, 0. We ended up there. Now, the next thing that you are going to do, yes, you, talking about you, you are going to evaluate f of a -8. Tell me what that equals. Okay, we don't know. Well, we knew this one. F of -6 is 0 after we did some work. So you're going to do some work to figure out what is f of a -8. A +6. Okay, so if you are struggling with all of these steps right in here, you need to say something. Okay, plotted my point, -8, +6. And now we're going to use the axis of symmetry to come up with the other points. This point is at our x-intercept, so it's at -6, 0. The x-intercept is 2 points or 2 places away from the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to have another point that is 2 units away from the axis of symmetry. So this point here would happen to be at a -2, 0. Okay, so we had -2, -4, -6. -4 is in the middle. Then we have a point at -8, +6. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 units away from the axis of symmetry. So my new point is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 points away from the axis of symmetry. Now this happens to be your y-intercept. This point is at a at 0 and a +6. I don't know why I was saying negative. But anywho, now we can draw our wider, compressed vertically, shrunken vertically graph here. Okay, that is what your graph will sort of look like. Okay, now, and I'm saying sort of because y'all know I can't draw. The next thing that I want to do, we're about to get into standard form. Okay, I may not have picked the best equation to do this with, but I'm trying anyway. Why? Because I'm Gable. Some people call me Able Gable. Okay, so here we go. We're going from vertex form to standard form. Okay, now we know what vertex form is. We know what standard form is. Okay, but how do we go from one form to the other? All right, I'm going to use what we were given. This is what we're about to do. Okay, we're going to take that equation that we had for 1B and put it into standard form. We're going to simplify this, if you will. Okay, so what's going to happen is the first thing that we need to take care of is x plus 4 cannot be added to each other. That's not 4x. Okay, if it was multiplied, it would be 4x, but that's adding. So we can't do that. What we will have to do first is deal with the exponent, because there's nothing that we can do inside the parentheses. Okay, now you have options for this. I'm going to set up both ways that you can handle x plus 4 squared. So we have f of x is equal to 0.5 times x plus 4 squared minus 2. The thing is that, like I said, we can't add those together. So what we can do is expand this to x plus 4 times x plus 4, and we still going to subtract 2 from it. Now the issue comes in, we dealt with the exponent, but now we have to deal with this here, multiplying a binomial. Okay, you've multiplied binomials before. You should know what to do. But I'm going to show you two options just in case. It doesn't matter who your Algebra 1 teacher is. One may have preferred one thing over the other. So here we go. Let me set it up. Apply a binomial by itself, or by any binomial times itself, or trinomial, any polynomials really. So the first thing that you have to know is that if you're going to do so with the box method, you're multiplying everything. It kind of looks like a Punnett square from biology, I believe. You're multiplying. X times x is x squared. X times 4 is 4x. X times 4 is 4x. And 4 times 4 is 16. Now that you got to this point, you need to combine like terms. It's most likely going to be what's on the diagonal. Nothing combines with x squared. You have 4x plus 4x. That's 8x. And nothing combines with 16. So this can replace x plus 4 times x plus 4. The other method that you may be used to is FOIL. FOIL considers the first, we're multiplying the whole way just like we did over here. The first two terms is x times x. That is x squared. The outer terms is x times 4. So we'll have 4x. The inner terms is 4 times x. Once again, 4x. And the last two terms is 4 times 4. So you'll have 16. We put them all together and we get x squared plus 8x plus 16. Once again, that can be used to replace the two binomials that's multiplying. So let me set that up for you. Okay, from multiplying, I just substituted in, from multiplying, I substituted in what I got from there. So now I will multiply everything by a half or by 0.5. If you like decimals, we can stick with decimals and go about it that way. If you wanted to do it with fractions, you're more than welcome to. So this will become 0.5 or 5/10 x squared. I'm taking half of everything. So this will become, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say what I'm doing. Excuse me. I'm actually distributing. Okay, I'm distributing 0.5 to everything that's inside the parentheses. So this will become 4x and a half times 16 is 8 minus 2. And the very last step that I'm going to do is take care of 8 minus 2. And it's going to be subtraction. So f of x is 0.5 or 5/10 x squared plus 4x plus 6. Okay, we have just gone from vertex form into standard form. Okay, now from standard form in the next slide, what you're going to see is different things that can be identified from just standard form alone. Okay, so let's get to it.